Steve Hanley has gone. He's back in the office sharpening pencils where he belongs. So it was the Saints that went marching in last Saturday at Franklin's Gardens, but it wasn't just the score that was concerning the Sharks at the final whistle. With 17 players missing before the game with Northampton, Kingsley Jones was left bewildered with another 6 players in the physio room. The captain, Juan Lobbe, has made a rallying cry and says he's not giving up on a playoff place.
Sport is, days of highs that are great and lows that are bad, and this is one of the lowest days. To lose as many players as we did. I mean, losing Mark Jones in the warm-up with what looks like a torn knee cartilage and knee surgery sort of sums it up, really. Particularly the likes of Dean Schofield, with a clear running possibly, and tears his groin. Chris Bell has torn his hamstring. Obviously I'm saying torn, but it looks that way, and they'll have scans straight away. And we're down to our fourth choice scrum half. Young Will Cliff hasn't played any rugby for a few months after a horrific injury. He's come on and done really well today, but when you have that disruption, it really loses. We lost our shape. We lost our trust in the defence.
For us, we really wanted to win because we want to stay in the top 4 and play for a semi-final. That's why we needed to win. Leicester win yesterday, so the pressure was on. Leicester is 5 points adrift, but they give us a good lesson of rugby.
I think it was special because there are a lot of people that passed their passing in sale. So it was a little, we want to win this game, and the same when we're going to go the last game in sale, they're going to try to beat us. So we try to make our effort. I think the people was very good, and I love to play here in this pitch. It's amazing.
Ben Foden had the final word, a nice celebration under the sticks there. I think the Sale fans have had so much to say about him, but I guess that's the answer, isn't it? He's playing full-back, that's where you're playing him, and he's a superb full-back.
He's a fantastic player, we know he's got the ability. Lee Dixon was great for us at scrum half, but he got cramp, so Ben can come up and cover there at 9 as well. So, he was unlucky not to score in the first half, Ben. He's an outstanding world-class player, and, I don't use that term loosely. He's been fantastic for us this season, and I'm delighted that he's on our side.
Never played against your brother in your whole career. This was your chance. Your parents were here watching. Just as you come off, he comes on.
Yeah, it was a little bit unfortunate. It was literally the substitution was made for him to come on, and I just had to take myself off at that point. So maybe we'll meet again on the pitch at the end of the season.
It has been a bit tricky, training with England and then being released back to your club. So I only get a few sessions in here. Like you say, a bit of banter, but I didn't talk to many of the boys before the game because I want to focus and try and put in the performance. And I'm sure there'll be a few text messages sent tonight and a bit of banter in the bar afterwards.
Tried to do our best half time. We had a bit of a roasting, I'll be honest with you, because we lost our shape at the end of the first half and missed a couple of tackles. And all I asked for at half time was for everybody to go back in the change and look each other in the eye and front up. If we make an error, we make an error, but everybody fronts up, puts their body on the line, and I think we did that in the second half, although we conceded more tries in the second half than the first.
It was a really horrible experience today. It's the first time I've experienced a loss like that at Sale, and for us now, we just have to look forward. We know that we've got the ability to win win the Premiership. And it's games like this, we need to come away and at least get some points.
It's the tough challenges is what make you a rugby player. So that's what we need to do. We need to give everything. Right now we need to stick together. You're saying we're just 18 players, okay? We have 18 players. There are 15 in the pitch. We need to give everything and put the balls and our heart until the last game.
Give me a serious answer on this. When I spoke to you and you said you're coming down here to play scrum half, you lied to me again.
I played scrum half. Do you not see me for the last 15 minutes? We scored 2 tries, I think.
You played a little bit. You were told by Philippe you're a world-class Lions fullback. You've been awesome at fullback. Is there still a choice there now? I mean, you came on for England. You played scrum half, fullback today. You seem to be awesome at any place, but I mean, at fullback you seem to be. That's your place for me anyway.
I spoke to Jim, and it's a decision that I've been thinking about for a long time now, and I've sort of got to grips with it. And I think that I'm leaning towards the 15 shirt, but like any good player, that I want another string to my bow, and I'm happy to play 9 as well. And like there, I enjoy playing the last 15 minutes, throwing the ball out on 9, getting a bit more involved. But as a player, I think that I'm going to be known as a 15/9 rather than a 9/15.
As long as you can sleep with yourself, Ben Foden.
Only a few weeks ago, many England fans were calling for Martin Johnson's head, but some of that criticism may well have died down following Sunday's impressive and long overdue display against the French. Plenty of familiar faces on show, some happy and some really not.
When we executed what we wanted to do, we looked good and we opened them up and we scored tries. And when we went off plan, it made it difficult for us. So I think the guys have had confidence in what we're trying to do on the field with the ball. We created a few chances in the last game, but today to actually execute them and turn them into points and turn them into very clinical tries, that was great.
But we've been trying to play that the last few weeks, and it was the discipline that had killed us. Unfortunately, everything we tried in training this week has paid off, and as a result, we've got a fairly impressive score against a good French team.
Everything we did was wrong in attack, in defence. We dropped too many balls, we lost too many balls in the contact. They were much more physical than us, and after, in rugby, when you go backward, you are punished.
In all our games, I think we've created quite a lot of chances, and I don't think we've been finishing as well as we could have. Today, that shows, if we stick to the game plan, we stick to our moves and what we're told in training, we can create chances, and we did today, and I thought we finished them really well.
The English team was very aggressive, and they played like they played the week before, but without mistake, without penalty. So and we played as well. We played very, very bad. So the score was 30 points nil on half time. So it was a nightmare, to be fair.
As your first Test season, as Martin Johnson was saying, it's been an outstanding one for you, hasn't it? 2 tries today. Amongst it, feeling confident in that centre position, it's yours now, isn't it?
Well, no, there's a hell of competition within our team right through, and I'm absolutely loving playing for England and playing international rugby. It's just fantastic honour.
Has Quait's taken the smile off his face yet?
No. He played very well today, and he's been chopsy all week, and I'm sure he'll continue to be chopsy. When
Wiggy scored against France in France last year in the Six Nations, and he threw the ball into the crowd, I think he got stick till about the summertime. Is Quait's going to get stickers because he's an older breed? Maybe they'll leave him alone a bit.
I'll try and give him some stick, but I usually get beaten down by the masses.
Can you come back here with Sale?
I think we could, because we have a really good squad, but after, at the end of the day, when you don't have any more players to play, what do you want to do? It happened to us 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and we played our best rugby on the pitch, but when it missed 10 or 12 of your first squad players, it's impossible to win games.
The last time the Sharks visited the Stoop, they went on to take 3rd place in the Premiership with a 23-16 win. More of the same is needed this coming weekend against the Quins side, very much in form.
It's been quite a difficult week. We didn't have much luck at Northampton. I think we had 6 key players who didn't want to get injured, and 3 of those players got injured in the first 25 minutes. And they weren't just little knocks; they're sort of 3 weeks plus injuries. And also Mark Jones going off even before kick-off, getting injured. So injuries-wise, it's been quite difficult. Hopefully we might have a couple of players back this week, and we'll see how we go from there.
It's been a little bit different this week because there's so many people out that you're doing your work in the gym or in the barn doing scrummaging, and you're having to make up the numbers. We've just done a session now on the pitch and trying to find the right numbers to do what we need to do. So with that smaller squad, in a way it almost makes you a bit tighter than when you've got 30, 40 people here and people milling around constantly. So in a way I think it brings us together, and it makes us think, well, okay, I've got to trust you, I've got to believe in what you're doing because I'm doing my weights with you, and then I'm out on the pitch right next to you, and it's all very seems to flow from one thing to the next, and I think you get that when you have a little squad.
Looking towards the Quins game now, Rory Lamont's been training this week. Of course, Schofield, Bell, Leck and O'Donnell may not all be back in the next couple of weeks, but certainly Rory's battling on, which is a huge asset.
Yeah, it is. It actually looks a bit better than it did when we sort of woke up Sunday morning. The sort of a worst case scenario that'd be all 6 players missing, but it looks like probably 3 of those guys will hopefully be back this weekend.
At this stage, when there's 5 weeks left, 5 or 6 games left, those little those little things can make all the difference. You know, having a word with a young halfback before the game, or talking to one of the props during the week, it just makes a huge difference. Trying to tie it all in together, because we have to. You know, we've only a few of us, so we've got to rely on each other and try and get that win. When you look at Quins, they've had quite a few injuries as well. So, you know, really the pressure is all on them. They're at home. Everyone is expecting them to win. Looking at it, but you know, it's such a hard-fought thing at the moment. Coming into the end of the season, 5 games to go, anything can happen. I'm always confident down at Harlequins. I've had some good wins down there in the past with different clubs, and I believe going down there we can win. You know, they've got internationals in key positions. They're 9 and they're 8 internationals, so that's quite a major thing for them. And they have got sort of 3 or 4 players, I think, missing. It'll be difficult to play down there. They're a good team. We've got quite a good record down there. I think we've only lost there once since 2001, and you know, the team we've got on paper is better than their team probably.
And I guess when you guys needed a bit of good news, a bit of a boost, Ben Cohen, World Cup winner, OBE, great signing.
He is a great signing, yeah, sensational player. I played with Ben. When was that? Last December for the Barbars, so against South Africa. So yeah, I know Ben. Played against him quite a few times as well, playing against England. So he's a good player. Good to have him on board.
Certainly from you guys, it's certainly a case of top 4, not top 6 in Heineken Cup qualification. You're by all means got to be in that top 4, if not top 2.
Definitely, I think we can achieve that, especially with the for and against record that we have at the moment. You know, we've conceded very few tries. Obviously, in the last 2 games, we've conceded quite a few, but I don't think you become a bad team overnight. Sure, players come in and come out, but we are a pretty tight squad. There were a lot of changes for the game on the weekend, a lot of disruption. We also lost Mark Jones before the game, so you know that has a big impact, and when that affects your preparation for the game as well. So all those injuries, we can put them aside now. We can start with a fresh squad this week, and concentrate on Harlequins.
Stay with us, because after the break, Stan the Man catches up with the one and only Dave Baldwin. First, though, it's teaser time. Don't go away.
Dean Richards won back-to-back Heineken Cups with the Leicester Tigers, but who did they defeat on those occasions? Was it A, Munster and Brive, B, Stade Francais and Leinster, or C, Stade Francais and Munster? So who did Dean Richards' Leicester Tigers defeat on those back-to-back occasions? It was C, Stade Francais and Munster.
Welcome back to the show. Next up is a former Shark who's played with some of the greatest forward packs the game has ever seen. Born and raised in Yorkshire, it wasn't long before this powerhouse was discovered by a certain Fran Cotton in the late 80s. Now coaching here at Manchester, Dave Baldwin sat down with our man Stan to discuss their glory days at Hayward Road.
Dave, thanks for coming to chat with me today. I asked you down here today because obviously we played together at Hayward Road together for many years, but I first want to find out about your early days of rugby and how you got into it.
Originally I played rugby league up to being 17, 18, and I started playing rugby union at 18 years of age. Joined my local junior club, Bramley, in West Leeds. Obviously I'm from Yorkshire, and I kicked on from there basically.
I mean, it wasn't the Sharks them days when you come over, so what brought you over this side of the Pennines to play for Sale FC or the Hayward Road days?
Frank Cotton basically. He picked the phone up one day and I spoke to him, and you know, there's not much bigger profile person in the game at that time, and probably still isn't, and for him to actually come and play rugby at Sale then was, you know, I was pretty impressed.
And he's probably a player you looked up to in your career. Anybody else around them days that you sort of looked up to and maybe aspired to be or aspired to be like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we didn't have Sky TV in them days, but you know, the Five Nations as it was, and used to watch England, and Bill Beaumont obviously stood out for me as being a player that I'd aspired to be.
Now, I remember when I turned up as a young skinny 18-year-old, and my first impressions of the place. What were your first impressions of these guys you were sort of, you know, going to be teammates with, really?
Yeah, I'd been playing for Yorkshire, and so I knew quite a few of the guys on the scene. County rugby was very strong in them days. So when I come down here, there's quite a few senior players around. Martin Whitcomb, who were around the England squad, England A. John Howe, David Pears, who went on to play for Quins. You know, they were
good Aspatria boy.
Absolutely, good Cumbrian. You know, so there was quite a few guys around. So it's quite welcoming. It's quite easy to join.
You know, moving on from that, I mean, the days when the game sort of went round about professional in '96. What was your take on that? What was did you have a profession before you went professional?
Yeah, I worked in printing. I was a print shop manager for a while, but again, it was done. It was a job through rugby basically. So.
And how did that transition go from the print job manager to, like, you know, the first professional contract, the first week of professional training, stuff like that?
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock actually. We went into pre-season basically, so we finished one season and then went full-time professional in the pre-season, so we had a while to get used to it. So I just didn't finish work one day, I'd finished work quite a while, then I went obviously into our pre-season
training. So the shock to the system was eased a bit, really?
Within reason, you know, as well as it could be.
And it was no more brown envelopes in the back pocket then, it was then the money straight in the bank account, was it?
I don't know what you're
talking about. And then I suppose moving on in the Hayward Road days, it was... you know, the likes of playing with the Jim Mallinders, Pete Anglesey, Steve Diamonds, this world, and some fantastic players who came through that era, really.
Yeah, it started off really, I think the real turning point at Sale came with Paul Turner. I think he just made an absolutely massive difference. First of all, he was just an exceptional rugby player, a very good coach, years ahead of his time. Certainly somebody that I learnt a lot of about rugby. Great to play with, and we developed from there. Got into the top league, and the players wanted to come and join us, and it just right at the event of professional rugby as well, so perfect timing.
I mean, I suppose then the next era was something I was quite familiar with myself, and a guy I hold in quite high regard because he gave me my chance at Sale was John Mitchell, and you know, it gets a few reactions when you mention his name because the lads who worked under him sort of have different opinions of him, but he was certainly not a man to be messed with sometimes, was he?
Absolutely, he was a hard taskmaster. He had a tough job to do. He came into the job. Obviously quite raw. He'd been a player, he'd come to Sale as a player coach, then he came as head coach the year after, so he had a lot to take on board in a short time, and I'm sure if he looks back he made a few mistakes, but you know, at the end of the day he was a good coach. I enjoyed working with him, I learnt a lot under him as well. And
any stories about Mitch we can shed light on tonight?
Just the usual. I mean, we all know about his legendary drinking training sessions. You know, we did work exceptionally hard in training, but we also had some fun times as well. You know, the drinking games that I'm sure you were involved in, Stan.
He made me go drinking before my first ever England training session, the first time ever, before I met Clive Woodward, and he was the England coach at the time, so that just showed what time.
Character building.
Yeah, he was, yeah, definitely. So when you retired and the Sharks moved on, and moved down to Edgeley Park, I mean, it's a sad loss to lose Hayward Road, but there must be some massive memories down there for you.
Yeah, I mean, I played there a long time. Certainly when the ground was at capacity full, it was an exceptional place, a great atmosphere, intimidating atmosphere for the away people. And I'm sure none of the players liked it. The facilities at that stage wasn't great. The changing rooms weren't great apart from Sales. You know, the change in the back cupboard basically, and you know, run out and the lights were poor, but you know, we loved it, you know, and we loved the Southern teams coming up to play against us.
I mean, looking back on it, there's some massive names that came up there and played at Hayward Road, and we took some great scalps really, and you know, what sticks in mind to me is the battles he used to have with the likes of a young Martin Johnson coming through when he was probably just breaking in the England scene, and there was all the things about you. Yourself were probably one of the best players never to get a cap for England.
Yeah, certainly I played against Martin a lot of times. He was very, very competitive. I always had some good battles with him. I think I did well because I got him when he was quite young. He obviously developed into one of the best locks the game's ever seen. And I was quite fortunate to catch him when he was young, and I played quite well against him.
And I think it was 2001, was it, when the boots finally came off the foot in the Hayward Road days, yeah. But did you move up to Fylde for a season? Was that due to was that injury? Was it just sort of a move for your career, or was it just a time to wind down? Really,
I was 36 years of age. I think I'd done my bit, and my legs were going. I decided to have a year as a player coach, basically to up my coaching, because I wanted to get involved in the game and carry on with coaching. So I had a year there, and probably a year too many really. So I was glad to finish at the end of that season and just concentrate solely on coaching.
And then it was the move to Manchester.
Yeah,
and that was just a coaching one when you never played at Manchester.
No, well, Josh Baxendale was helping out at Manchester at that time as a backs coach, just helping their backs out, and he just said to me, "Why don't you come down and it's a local club, fairly local club to us, and why don't you come down and we'll have some fun?" Which we did.
And from there, I mean, you're director there. You sort of have control over all the rugby, and you've sort of moved into this. You moved into National One. You got promotion last year, which is a fantastic achievement for a club like Manchester. To move up into that division and play with some sides that are full-time professionals as well, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult bridging that gap. There's a huge gap between National 2 and National 1. Manchester's probably a National 2 club really. It's semi-professional, as in the lads just work. We get paid to play, or they get paid to play. And to go into a league where there's full-time professional teams, it's a tough call. But we've really enjoyed it. It's been a really good, exciting season.
And you've also got another ex-Sale player, ex-Hayward Road player on your coaching staff with Steve Swindles. And did you bring him in to look after the backs down at Manchester? And do you have a good relationship with Steve?
Yeah, very much so. Steve, I knew about Steve. I knew he'd been coaching locally, and I was in need of a backs coach. So it was ideal. I mean, first season we had last year made a great difference. Our backs played really well in National 2. We won so we got promoted out of the league squad, hundreds of tries. So it was great fun, and I'm sure this year has been a bit of a learning curve for Steve, but it's all part of coaching.
Also on your CV, I see you've got the England Counties coaching on it. I mean, a lot of people go on about it. A lot of people have heard of the England Counties, but don't actually know how it works and what it is. Can you just enlighten us on it?
Yeah, I've been coaching England Counties now for 3 years, and I've got another 3 years. It's a honorary position, but it's great fun. What it is basically, it's the game below the elite level, so levels 2, below the Premiership, and below that you pick an England side, and we go to places like aspiring countries, level 3 countries.
Where have you been?
Well, Russia, America, Canada.
And Russia have got a Sale Sharks connection at the minute as well?
I believe so, yes. A couple of Sharks connections out there, actually, with Howard Thomas out there as well. Right. As well as Steve. And this year we're going to Korea and Japan. And we go out to developing nations and try and develop their game.
And not a bad thing to be involved with as well. A few nice away trips.
It's
and is it back to the old school of rugby that, or do you put professional edge on it as well?
No, we definitely put a professional edge on that. I think it's really important to take the players out of that environment where they are semi-pro amateur players and take them in to show what it could be. And we get quite a few young players in around that, 19, 20, 21, and it's really good to see them, what they can aspire to.
And it's an RFU back system as well, so obviously they'll have one eye on it and they'll want to see you developing young players, is that right?
Yeah, they want to see us develop young players, and I think they want to see us developing, the coaches develop and everybody develop in that environment. It's a good environment to be in.
Thanks again for joining us here on Talking Sharks. Remember, you can catch all your favourite episodes on our website, www.channelm.co.uk/sport. We'll leave you this week with England's Dylan Armitage, try scorer, stand-in kicker and multilinguist. We'll see you next week.
30-0 juste avant la mi-temps, alors nous on est très contents. Pour moi, marquer un essai contre l'équipe de France aussi, j'étais quand même content pour ça et j'espère que ça continue.
Dylan, it was more a case of capitalising on mistakes with tries, whereas today they were really made, especially yours.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been working really hard on finishing our tries. We create a lot of chances.